Do you want to make your synth more interesting using Serum? Let's go. One thing that you can make to make your synth more interesting is just taking a preset and changing things. For example, you take this one and change things. I don't know, maybe put this one here, take this one and change it for this, one octave lower. And then start touching things like, I don't know, let's put this here, let's put this here, let's put this here, let's put this here. It's done. But yeah, let's go more step by step and more in depth. The first thing you can do is to add an LFO to the fine of your oscillator. Just go here, click and drag to the fine, and now we have this. But if we increase the rate, maybe to 164, this is a bit too much, reduce it a little bit, but now we go from this to this. It's more interesting. The second thing you can do is to use any of the warp modes that you have in your oscillators. We have this sound, and if we go here, we can see a lot of warp modes. For example, if we choose the band, without the effect it's like this, but with the effect, as you can see, it's changing a bit the wavetable. There are a lot of different types. A really cool one is the FM from A. As you can see, it changes so much. And in case you were thinking, of course, you can send the LFO here, and for example, a bit too much. Another cool thing is to add texture to your sound. And how we're gonna do this? We're gonna send LFO to different parameters like the volumes or distortion. In this case, I'm just gonna have a sine wave. I'm gonna send it here, both sides, Alt Shift click, and maybe not that much, but of course make it faster. And just with this, add some texture. Of course, you can also send it, for example, to the distortion. And for example, if we send this to a fine, and then we apply some effects here and there, we have this. A kind of bluer synth. Another really cool thing is to control the volume with an LFO, but we change the rate. This is the famous anema sound. I'm gonna put the volume down on both, now it doesn't sound. I'm gonna move the LFO like this and send it to both volumes. You can just control this the way you prefer. And if you put it on trigger, now it sounds like this. What happens if we increase the rate? But this is like increasing with the stairs. I want it to smooth. So then you need to disable the BPM, and now it's cool, right? But how can we control this? I'm gonna use an envelope 2 and send this here. And touching a little bit the decay length and putting the rate at your taste, we have something like this. By the way, these two presets, the bluer and the anema ones, are included in my new Soundbank Volume 2. 128 presets for any electronic music genre. Progressive house, tech house, hardstyle, deep house, melodic techno, bass house, anything. But listen to this. I have a launching offer with a 35% discount, and when you get it, you get an 85% discount for the Volume 1. So basically you have two Soundbanks for less than the price of one Soundbank. Am I crazy? Maybe yes, but don't miss this offer, link in the description. Alright, another thing to make your synth more interesting, getting a bit of analog sound. For this is super simple. We have the super saw, and we're gonna just change the fine. You can reduce on this one and increase on this one, so its way is like they are even more different, and now it sounds like this. Increase it more. Basically, as you can see, it's like applying more detunement to two oscillators that are already detuned. The next one is something pretty interesting that not a lot of people talk about, and is using the chaos. Basically, what this is gonna do is like make something chaotic. If, for example, you have an LFO, instead of going like this all the time, maybe it goes like this, and then goes here, and then goes completely, and you know, it's chaotic. So for example, we send LFO to the fine again, we increase the rate, but then we can right click mod source and we choose chaos 1 or chaos 2. If you go to global, here is the chaos and you can control how much you want. This is before and this is after. Do you see that it's not all the time going left and right completely? Sometimes it's more here, then goes more here, then it's completely. This is the chaos. Next one, using filters with LFOs and envelopes. And of course, you can use both filters. The one that you see in the first screen, but also the one in the effects. I have this preset that right now, I'm gonna enable the filter and I'm gonna use this one, but right now it's just filtered. So what can we do? I'm gonna send the envelope. You can use envelope 1, 2, 3, the LFO, you can use anything you want. I'm gonna just use the envelope 1 and I'm gonna send it here. Maybe not that much. So now following this envelope is gonna open the filter. Do you see the difference? So static, so flat, more interesting and with movement. But then I'm gonna apply another filter. This one is the Flanger L6 Plus, and this is gonna apply a different effect. And if we move the cutoff, you see that sound changes, right? So we can do the same thing. Just send it here and see what happens. It has a bit more kind of pitch thing. Finally, if we combine all of these, we can have really interesting sounds. Let me show you. I made this script for the pack and it sounds like this. Let's go step by step. If we disable all the LFOs and we disable the filter, it sounds like this. Not that good, right? So the first thing I did was with this LFO, I control the master tuning. To send it to the master tuning, you need to go to the matrix and do it manually. Global master tuning. On this one, I'm adding a variation of 4 octaves. How do you know how many is 4 octave with this? It's so simple. 4 octave is 48 semitones, right? So go here, put 48 and ST. Boom, that is 4 octave. Then what I decided to do is add here an FM, but I want to automate it, so I decided to use this LFO. So it's why I have more movement. Then to make the oscillator more aggressive, what I did is with this LFO, control the fine. So it had more movement. I wanted a bit extra crunching with more energy sound, so I decided to add this filter, but as you can see I have a lot of resonance and a lot of drive, so I'm increasing here. But of course we can control this, right? So I send this LFO to this cutoff. Finally, I send this LFO to this high band here of the compressor. Right now it doesn't work, because I have it controlled with the macro, but if I increase it, it adds a lot of tremolo sound, and it adds texture and makes it more interesting. But I also decided to add some Atmos sounds that without LFOs and filters sound like this. But if I put this filter that is only on the oscillator B, with this LFO, I have this LFO doing an ARP on the CRS of this oscillator 1, basically to control the notes. And finally, the LFO 3, I send it here to control the volume. I have this. But that's not all, because I decided to send this macro here. As you can see, there's a bar, and if I control it, I change the tag. So I can create an automation in the macro, and during the song I make it evolve. So all these things can make your leads more interesting, but if you're just lazy or you don't want to spend time, you can just get my new Soundbank that has an awesome launching offer. Get it now and see you in the next video.